You also have told me that you had some other pain in your life
Yes.
that may have been worse than childbirth, or no? I don't think I've taught push present yet, but like when we were having children,
Yes.
there was push push presents weren't a thing.
They were.
So I couldn't have given you one. That came after.
I know you guys think that Brent is like a stand-up citizen and never lies, but
Welcome back to another English lesson. In today's English lesson, you are going to learn how to talk about childbirth in English. At least 43 different ways, different things you can say if you need to talk about pregnancy. Maybe you are having a baby. Maybe your kids are having a baby. Maybe a coworker, a friend, a sibling. There are a lot of births in the world, and it's important to know how to talk about this in English. Let's get started with this first one. Yes, it's a little awkward, but anytime you talk about making a baby, it could be awkward. So we have a way to talk about that in English without really talking about it. And we call it the birds and the bees. The birds and the bees is a gentle way of explaining how babies are made to children. And you can see in that picture, I will remove this for a second. You can see there is a mother and a young daughter sitting on a bed. Maybe it's a little awkward. There is a book open in front of them, and it is very likely they are talking about the birds and the bees. Let's look at a sentence that uses that term in English. My parents explained the birds and the bees to me when I was older. Now, I'm not sure exactly when this talk happens to most people in the United States, but I would guess that maybe 8 or 9 years old, parents would talk about this. This might be a cultural thing. I know in other parts of the world, the schools will talk about it. In other parts of the world, the parents will talk about it. In the United States, it's a little of both. Usually in the sixth grade and in the eighth grade, the health teacher at the school will have a unit about the birds and the bees or how babies are made. And guess what? My wife is a health teacher and she has to have this talk with her children or with her students once a year. Maybe we can get her on and ask her about how awkward that might be. What about this one? Pregnancy. Now, this is a noun. In just a second, we are going to talk about the adjective. But pregnancy is the noun we use when a mother is with child. It's another way in English to say a woman is pregnant. So here we go. Pregnancy, it is a noun carrying a baby inside a mother's belly. She announced her pregnancy to her family with joy. Well, that is a good thing. I know pregnancies, when they are announced, it is not always a joyful thing. Sometimes it can be unexpected. And if it is a pregnancy that is announced with joy, we might call it a planned pregnancy. The parents wanted this baby to happen. An unplanned pregnancy, that might not always be a happy thing. It may be an accident, some people will say. Let's talk about the adjective pregnant. This is how you would describe a woman with a baby inside her belly. Here is the official definition: the state of having a baby developing inside the body. She found out she was pregnant last month. What about paternity test? Notice it starts with a P. Paternity. When you hear paternity, think father. In a little bit, we are going to talk about maternity. That means mother. Paternity. A paternity test. It is a test to determine who the father of a baby is. They did a paternity test to know the baby's father. You can imagine if a mother has a couple different boyfriends and they engage in a certain activity around the same time, it might be difficult to know exactly who the father of that baby is. It's always very easy to know who the mother is. The father could be a mystery. Now, in English, we also have something called a pregnancy test. And this can be very convenient. It can be very easy for a woman to find out if she is pregnant or if she is not. That way, she doesn't have to wait. She doesn't have to make a doctor's appointment right away. She will be able to find out whether she is pregnant or not by simply taking a pregnancy test. Most of the time, you can find a pregnancy test at the pharmacy. Who knows? Maybe even a supermarket. Certainly here in the United States, pregnancy tests are available at supermarkets. All right, we just talked about paternity. Here is maternity. We have a few terms in English that uses that adjective maternity, and we will talk about a couple of them today. Maternity clothes. Clothes. Not easy to say, right? Well, these are clothes designed for a woman to wear when they are pregnant. They probably have a little more room in the belly. She bought new maternity clothes as her belly grew. Now, in English, we have something called a trimester. Anytime you see try in English, TRI, think 3. In the first trimester of pregnancy, a woman might not need so much room for her belly. But by the time the third trimester comes around, she probably needs a lot more clothing there in front of her belly. Sticking with the whole maternity thing, let's talk about maternity leave. In the picture, you can see a father and a mother playing with their baby. Now, this baby might be a little bit too old. The mother is probably back to work because in the United States, maternity leave is usually 6 to 8 weeks if a woman is lucky. Well, what is maternity leave? Take a look down below. Time off work given to a mother to take care of her newborn baby. Yeah, when a baby is first born, we call it a newborn. We'll talk more about that term a little later. Here's a sentence. She is on maternity leave to care for her newborn. Yeah, I could do a whole lesson on when Americans work and when they have time off for certain things, but I know in the United States, 6 to 8 weeks is not a long time compared to other parts of the world. Please let me know in the comments, which country are you from and how long is maternity leave in your country? We also have paternity leave. Since we just talked about paternity, you know that is something to do with the father. Paternity leave means how much time a father takes off to spend with his newborn baby. For example, when we had our children, I only took 5 days off for paternity leave. Fathers do not get as much time as mothers. I know in other countries, fathers get quite a bit of time off from work. Ultrasound. Ultrasound. It is a medical test that uses sound waves to create pictures of babies inside the womb. We will talk more about womb in a minute, but notice womb ends with a B, but we don't say it. Womb. It's the medical term for like the inside of a belly. It's where the baby grows. They saw their baby for the first time on ultrasound. And I am so old I am 48 years old, that my parents didn't have the ability to get an ultrasound. It wasn't invented yet. It was always a surprise when the baby came out, when the baby was born, which gender it would be. Was it a boy or a girl? My parents picked out two names for me. If I was going to be a girl, my name would have been Jessica, a very popular name for girls in the 1970s in the United States. But guess what? I turned out to be a boy, and they had Brent as a name. Yeah, they named me Brent. This might be a good time to remind you, if you are enjoying this English lesson, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe so you never miss another English lesson. All right, we got baby shower next. Baby shower. I know in English, when you hear shower, you probably think water, getting clean. No, not this time. A baby shower is a party to celebrate the upcoming birth of a baby. They had a baby shower to prepare for the baby's arrival. A lot of times, when first-time parents are going to have a baby, they don't have everything they need. We are going to talk about some items later that are really important for parents to have for their baby. But at a baby shower, the parents' friends will come to their house or maybe somebody else's house for this party, and they will bring presents the parents can use when that baby comes. Let's talk about burp cloth. When a baby eats, after, you probably will put the baby on your shoulder and pat its back. We call that burping the baby, getting rid of the air inside the baby. And if you've ever burped a baby, you know it can be messy. In English, we call these things burp cloths. They are a piece of cloth that you put on your shoulder. The baby can lay its head on. You can burp the baby. It will get rid of the air inside of it. And hopefully it will be clean. But if not, you can have a burp cloth, which will keep you clean. You can just put this in the washer after. Maybe one item parents receive at a baby shower would be a burp cloth. The next one is due date. Now, notice how due is spelled. You will often see do, D-O, as something you do. It's a verb, but here due is an adjective. Due date. It is the estimated day when a baby is expected to be born. So it's a really good guess on when the baby will be born. Her due date is in early July. We also have another kind of due, D-E-W, like in the morning when you walk in the grass and it might be wet, but it hasn't rained. We also call that due. Oh, and we have a soft drink or a soda in the United States called Mountain Dew. It's kind of what that means, like wet stuff on the ground on a mountain. Now to the hardest word we probably have in this English lesson today, obstetrician. Obstetrician. It is so difficult, we often call this person by another name. Obstetrician or OBGYN. I'm not sure which is more difficult, but OBGYN, you will hear that quite a bit in English. That is a doctor who specializes in pregnancy and childbirth. The obstetrician checked the health of both mother and baby. When a woman finds out that she is pregnant, she will start seeing an obstetrician. And during that time, the doctor will make sure that both she and the baby are healthy, and there is a good chance the doctor or the obstetrician will be in the room when the baby is born. They will help out with that procedure. Speaking of obstetricians, prenatal care is very important. Pre When you see that in English, think before. Natal usually has something to do with babies. So prenatal care is the care a woman and a baby receives before a baby is born. Right at the bottom there, she attended prenatal care appointments regularly. Regularly. Not easy to say, right? So during the first trimester, she may see her doctor once a month. But as it gets closer to the baby being born, she might see her obstetrician or her OBGYN once a week. How about maternity ward? Maternity ward. Hopefully you remember maternity has something to do with the mother. The maternity ward is a hospital section specialized for childbirth and care of newborns. So this is the part of the hospital where mothers go to have their babies, and also very young babies will stay for a couple days before they go home. She was taken to the maternity ward when her labor started. Labor. It usually means work in English. In just a minute, we will talk about labor when it comes to childbirth. Oh boy, it's getting real now. The baby is almost ready to come out. Contractions. Contractions. These are the pains a mother has before the baby is born. Her contractions started, signaling the beginning of labor. Maybe she will have a couple contractions an hour, and the closer it is for the baby to come, they might be every minute. I am sure they are quite painful. I've never had a baby, obviously. I can only guess. My wife has delivered 2 babies. We will talk about that verb in a minute. I should probably get her on here and ask her a few questions about it.
My wife is nice enough to join us, and she's allowing me to ask her a couple questions about giving birth. Since you're more of an expert than I am.
Yes.
You've given birth to 2 children. So the first thing I would like to ask you is, how painful is it?
Wow. So you kind of forget. People talk about that. Like you forget how painful it is after you have your children. I would say it's a different kind of pain than like falling down and hurting yourself or breaking a bone. It's just a different kind of pain. But it was pretty painful. I didn't have any drugs when I gave birth to our 2 children. Unfortunately, I tried to have an epidural, but it did not work either time. So
Yeah, epidural
yep.
was one of the terms I talked about. And you basically had natural childbirth.
Natural childbirth, yes. I did try to have an epidural both times, but I have some back issues, so I'm thinking it just did not work for me.
So you felt the brunt of it. You felt the whole thing.
I did, yeah.
All right. So you also have told me that you had some other pain in your life.
Yes.
That may have been worse than childbirth, or no? Like your shoulder,
Yes.
your elbow.
Yes. There's a couple of things I would rather do childbirth again. I did separate my clavicle from my shoulder. Super painful. I would rather not do that again. I dislocated my elbow, super painful. The recovery from childbirth for me, because I had natural childbirth, I did not have a C-section, was much quicker than an injury that you may have suffered.
Good. And also, I don't think I've taught push present yet, but like when we were having children,
Yes.
there was push presents weren't a thing.
They were.
So I couldn't have given you one. That came after.
I know you guys think that Brent is like a stand-up citizen and never lies, but that's not always true.
Well, maybe you can describe what a push present is. Like if your husband had gotten you one, what's the
Right.
definition of a push present?
So first of all, I just want to say that, he gives me push presents all the time. I don't need a push present.
We didn't have a lot of money.
We did not.
Back then.
So,
Not that we have a lot now,
Yeah,
but it was
but
like
I took some time off unpaid from work, so I would, and to stay home longer with our children, so I would much rather have that time versus a push present, in all honesty. But a push present is when the husband or the spouse gives the mother of their child a present for giving birth to their son or daughter.
For pushing a child
For
out.
pushing a child out, for the pain, the 9 months of, being uncomfortable sometimes.
Hard to sleep at night.
It was very hard for me to sleep at night. So
Would you like to tell everyone what I got you for your push present?
So I didn't get a material push present, but I will have to say, when
Well, I didn't get you a push present.
no, but I
so.
will say, like, in the middle of the night, always got up to help me. When our children were teething, always got up to help me.
Well, that's what husbands should do,
Yes,
right?
but like I always slept late on the weekends, like when I went back to work. Always got up early. Always made sure I had dinner. Like I didn't have to lift a finger when our children were first born. And I know you say husbands.
So
are
basically,
supposed to
I did
do
what I
that.
was supposed to do.
Yeah, but above and beyond, I think.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But 50-50, that's what it should be, right?
50-50. Yeah,
Equal.
but I didn't have to worry about anything. Like you always just made sure.
But most husbands these days, do you think, what percentage of women get push presents?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, I don't hear about it too much now. I think for a while.
Oh, I heard about it a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From who?
You, mostly.
That was
Just
just
kidding.
joking.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have a lot of friends now that are having children, so I don't really, I'm past the
Sadly-
birthing years. Yeah.
Sadly, our friends are now having grandchildren.
Yes. So
Happens
I'm
quickly.
not sure. Yeah. But like you said, we didn't have a lot of money, and I think what you did for me was better than a push present.
I appreciate it. I didn't ask that question to get praise. I
No,
thought you were
but-
going to throw me under the bus with that one.
No, but I think a lot of dads, it's hard because you were working, I was not working, and I think a lot of times the mom just does a lot so that because you're going to work, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be rested, but you went above and beyond. I would say.
Kicks. You probably know this verb in English. You can kick a ball. When a baby is inside a mother's womb and the mother can feel the baby pressing against the inside of her belly, we describe that as kicks. Oh, the baby is kicking. Would you like to feel? So kicks are movements of the baby felt inside the womb. She felt the baby kick the inside of her belly. And right there, that is a picture of a womb, or the best I could do. It is the inside of a mother's belly where a baby develops. How about this? Epidural. Epidural. You can see there is a needle. That doctor is wearing rubber gloves, and that is a woman's back. That is her spine. What is epidural? Well, it's medicine given to a woman to stop the pain during labor. She chose to have an epidural to ease the pain of labor. Obviously, having a baby is super painful. Some women can choose to have what is called in English a natural childbirth, which means there are no drugs given to the woman. She feels all of the pain. But if a woman doesn't want that much pain, they can have what we call an epidural. Oh, poor mothers. If you are a mother, thank you. I am so glad that I do not have to go through the pain of having a baby. But sometimes babies are born by cesarean section. Cesarean section. Hard to say even for native English speakers. So you will often just hear C-section, C-section. But this is when the baby, for whatever reason, cannot come out in the traditional way. The mother's stomach has to be cut for either the safety of the mother or the safety of the baby. Cesarean section. A surgical method to deliver a baby through the mother's belly. The baby was born by C-section due to problems with the birth. So you may know doctors like to see the baby come out head first. We call it breech if another part of the baby's body starts to come out first, and that can be very dangerous for the mother and the baby. Doctors often choose to give the mother a C-section just so both will stay healthy. So we've talked about obstetrician, but some mothers may choose to have a midwife during their pregnancy. And a midwife is a healthcare professional. So they've gone to school to be educated, but they are a healthcare professional who assists with childbirth. The midwife helped her through the home birth. So a home birth is when the mother chooses not to go to the hospital, not to go to the maternity ward, but give birth to the baby at home. Okay, you've heard me talk about labor quite a bit already. Let's talk about what it really means in labor. The period when a woman is experiencing contractions to deliver the baby. She was in labor for several hours before the baby was born. And you might hear, oh, she's going into labor. We need to get her to the hospital. I've also mentioned that verb deliver. I've also used the English phrasal verb to come out. You will hear both when a baby is welcomed into the world. Delivery, the act of giving birth to a baby. The delivery went smoothly and the baby was healthy. We always like to hear that, right? A lot of parents in English will be asked, hey, are you hoping for a boy or a girl? Most parents will say, oh, I don't care, just as long as the baby is healthy. Newborn. I've also mentioned this already. Let's talk about what it means exactly. It's a baby that has just been born. It's exactly what it sounds like. The newborn slept peacefully in her mother's arms. A little later, we will be talking about sleeping like a baby. If you've ever had one, you know they don't always sleep peacefully. All right, placenta. Placenta. That doesn't sound English to me. It probably comes from the Latin. Placenta. Well, it's an organ that connects the developing baby to the mother's uterus. I'm not going to get too technical with the body parts, but the uterus is important in pregnancy, and the placenta is too. It provides nutrients to the growing baby. Hey, here's a heads up. In English, heads up means like a warning. Here's a heads up, maybe to any fathers who have not had a baby yet. Well, I guess if you're a father, you've had a baby. How about to any men or women, I guess, if you don't know this? But the woman will deliver the baby. She will give birth to the baby. And not long after, she will also have to deliver the placenta. And it can be quite painful. I was not aware of this during the birth of our first child. Jamie delivered our daughter. She was healthy, crying, happy. And then a few minutes later, my wife was in pain again. I didn't know what was going on. She was delivering the placenta. I have a picture that AI made of the placenta because I didn't know if anybody was ready to see a picture of a real placenta. It can be kind of ugly, I think, in my opinion. But that is what AI thinks a placenta looks like. What about the NICU? NICU. It's an acronym that stands for something much longer. Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. That is a mouthful. A mouthful is when something is hard to say. So you will hear NICU quite a bit. Unfortunately, some babies do need to go to the NICU after they are born. Let's take a look at what it is. It's a part of the hospital for sick or premature newborns. Lot to talk about there. Neonatal. Remember, natal has something to do with a baby. Neo means new. Premature. We talked about due date before. Let's say a woman's due date is June 30th. But if the baby comes a lot earlier than that, we would call it premature. And it can be very dangerous for the baby to come out really early. So if a baby is premature or they have some other health problem, they might need to visit the NICU, incubator. Incubator. It's a device that keeps premature or sick babies warm and helps them breathe. The baby was placed in an incubator to help with breathing. I'll make that picture really big so you can see what an incubator looks like. I'm sure you have a word for it in your first language. On to happier things. Nursery. Nursery. When you hear nursery, think of a place where a baby is going to sleep. It's usually very colorful. Nursery. A room in a hospital or home for newborn babies to sleep and be cared for. The nursery was decorated with soft colors and toys. Whenever I walk into a nursery, as long as babies aren't crying, I always feel calm. Let's talk about some things a baby might need. Bottle. We call that thing a bottle in English. Well, what is it? It's a container used to feed milk to a baby. You might also hear formula. Formula is also given to babies. It's like really strong milk to help them grow. She prepared a bottle of milk for the baby's feeding time. We also have a term called breastfeeding. I do not want to show a picture of that because somebody might get angry, but that is the most natural way a baby could be fed right from the mother. We call it breastfeeding. Today, doctors recommend that mothers try to breastfeed as much as possible. Doesn't always happen for one reason or another. How about this? Pacifier. Pacifier. Pacifier is an object that a baby sucks on for comfort. The baby calmed down when given a pacifier. Calmed down. I know there's an L in there, but I don't think we pronounce it. So if a baby is crying and they are given a pacifier, they will calm down. They will stop crying. Now, I'm not telling you how to parent. I'm just an English teacher. But Jamie and I never gave our kids pacifiers. We read in a book somewhere that if babies are not given pacifiers, they talk earlier. A lot of parents have trouble getting rid of the pacifier. When a baby turns 3, maybe 2, depending on the parents, depending on the baby, the parents will want to get rid of the pacifier. The child doesn't always want to do that. One problem we never had to worry about. I'm going to talk about 3 terms all at once because they're mostly the same thing. I think Americans will use these terms almost interchangeably. Cradle, crib, bassinet. A cradle. It's a small bed for a baby that rocks back and forth. The baby fell asleep in the cradle. Now, a bassinet is for newborns only. It's usually smaller than a crib, and it doesn't rock back and forth like a cradle. A bassinet is a small bed for newborns and infants. Infants might be a little bigger than newborns. Often portable. Portable means you can carry it around. The baby slept in a bassinet next to her parents' bed. Again, not giving parental advice. That's the adjective for parents. I'm not giving parental advice. But Jamie and I had our children sleep in our room in a bassinet for the first 6 months. We read that in a book somewhere too. It worked out. And there is a picture of a crib. Again, much bigger than a cradle or a bassinet. And it's not really portable. It's more like a bed with bars. So the baby is safe. But of course, as a baby gets older, they start exploring more and they may try to crawl out of their crib at night. And then maybe it's time for a regular bed. Diaper. It's a pretty easy one to know, right? Just look at the picture. What is a diaper? It's a piece of clothing worn by babies to catch waste. I'm sure you all know what a diaper does. Catches waste. Let's just say that. It's time to change the baby's diaper. A very popular brand in the United States is Pampers. So you might hear diapers called Pampers even though they are from a different name brand. Aw, lullaby. Lullaby in the picture. You can see some musical notes and you can see a mother looking at her baby. A lullaby is a gentle song sung to help a baby fall asleep. Here's a sentence. She sung a lullaby to soothe the baby to sleep. Soothe is another way to make something feel better. Let's say you have a headache. You may take some medicine to soothe that headache. Try to get rid of it. Make it feel better. The next one, cuddle. It's a verb. It means to hold someone close in your arms for warmth or comfort. Parents will often cuddle with their babies. The mother cuddled with her baby lovingly. Lovingly. Milestone. Milestone. This can be for any part of life, but babies often will have these quite a bit in their early years. Milestone, an important event in a baby's development, like first steps or first words. Her first word was a big milestone for the family. I wonder if that baby said mama or dada. Those are very common first words for babies in English. Yeah, a baby taking their first steps is quite the milestone. Other milestones later in life might be getting married, graduating high school or college, having a baby. That would be a major milestone in somebody's life. We use this term a lot when it comes to babies. Sleep through the night. Parents love the day when their babies finally sleep through the night. It's exactly what it sounds like. When a baby doesn't wake up during the night. As you probably know, when babies are small, they have to feed a lot. Their bellies are really tiny, so they often wake up during the night 1, 2, 3, maybe more times. And that really affects the parent's sleep. It's a good thing when a baby finally sleeps through the night. I'm sure the parents love waking up after a good night's sleep. At 6 months old, the baby started to sleep through the night. Bun in the oven. It's an idiom. In the picture, I literally have buns in the oven. You might use a bun when you're eating a hot dog bun. It's a piece of bread. But you will often hear this in English to say a woman is pregnant. She has a bun in the oven, right at the bottom there. A playful way to say someone is pregnant. Did you hear? She's got a bun in the oven. In the picture is a stork. It's a type of bird in English. Long time ago, instead of parents having that talk with their children about the birds and the bees, sometimes parents just say, oh, the stork delivered your little brother or your little sister, instead of talking about the way babies are actually made. This was quite a bit before even I was born, but I guess children believed their parents. Look at the bottom. It's a storybook way of saying a baby was born. They told their older child that the stork delivered their little sister. I mentioned this earlier. slept like a baby. We might not say this about babies. Sometimes we do, but we all know that babies often don't sleep through the night. But when someone has a really good sleep, you can say, "Oh, I slept like a baby." It means to sleep very deeply and peacefully after the long trip. He slept like a baby. And that could be an adult. You can talk about any age sleeping like a baby. How about gender reveal? This is becoming popular in the United States. My children right now are 17 and 18 years old. We did not have a gender reveal. It became popular after my children were born, maybe a decade ago, maybe 10 years ago. But a gender reveal is an event or an announcement to share if a baby will be a boy or a girl. And a lot of times, even the parents don't know if they are having a boy or a girl. They learn with everybody else. They planned a small party for the gender reveal using blue and pink balloons to surprise their family. So, boy usually means blue, pink usually means girl. We will be doing English lessons about other milestones during somebody's life, things like weddings, graduation, retirement, and yes, we should probably even talk about death. If I have any of those other lessons, I will put it right up there so you can watch more. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.